Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? John is alive and well, made it through surgery. I feel like complete shit, but hey, the show must go on. And I am joined today by, do you go by SJ or Steve?
Either or. It does either
Okay,
or, whatever you want to call me.
so we'll call him Steve Herman, the artist formerly known as SJ Herman.
There you go.
He is a writer, a director, uh, you name it. He's dabbled in it. You've been heavily inspired by the works of Stephen King, as I was reading in your bio from The Stand, which was what your main inspiration to getting into writing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the first book I read by King, and I was hooked up. I've been hooked ever since. So yeah, he's my main inspiration.
And then that led you into Morium, and then your what was it? The Trepidity, which is being made in or has been made into a movie or is.
It has been.
Okay,
It's,
so
it,
it's
it's going
already
to it's going to the film festivals now.
So the reason why I came across or how I came across Mr. Herman was by Miss Amy Crabtree. Shout out to her. She posted this ad saying that there was an Indiegogo campaign for a movie called It Came From Somewhere. And this guy here is a huge fan of those cheesy drive-in 1950s science fiction horror films. And to see somebody, a filmmaker in indie film community, or even if they were in the mainstream film community, actually tackling this and not just modernizing it, but giving it the feel that it had, that aesthetic that it had, which made them stand out, made them beautiful. From like Plan 9 from Outer Space, Rocket Ship XM, the Flying Saucer, Flying Disc Man from Mars. I mean, you go on and on and on. And then you have done it. I mean, I watched that trailer and I was blown away. I was like, holy crap, this guy has nailed Ed Wood and Roger Corman.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the inspiration came to me when I was watching Mystery Science Theater 3000, and they had an episode about teenagers from outer space. I thought to myself, wow, wouldn't it be cool to do something like this, keeping it in the style like I'm watching now, this completely bad acting, cheesy monsters and bad dialogue and all that. So I brought it up to the cast of Trepidity, and almost immediately they're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. And from there, it was born.
How hard was it to get the movie to look like that, though, for the aesthetic of it? Is it hard to do now, or is it fairly still simple?
It's, I mean, we're shooting it in 4:3 instead of
Yeah.
widescreen. So it was, it took a while to get used to getting it like dead center in the screen instead of having it, kind of off center. But other than that, no, really, it's just, it's filmed the same way. I mean, the way you see it on the trailer, that was all done in
Mhm.
post production.
I got so many like Ed Wood vibes from that dude when I watched that trailer. It was like all I could think of is watching the Johnny Depp film by Ed Wood, where it had the scenes of where he's just running up to certain spots and going, "Okay, there's nobody around. Let's shoot the shot real quick." And then they
Right.
get poor old Bella Lugosi to come down there and just lay on his back and go,
Right. In
"Oh,"
the water. He's like,
yeah. And he
what?
goes, "That was great. Let's go to the next place and do it." It's easy to say that there was, to me, the 30s and 40s was like the it was the introduction of horror into film. And it was, a romanticism about it. But 50s to me is when, of course, that's when the drive-ins kind of came into play. But it seemed like the 50s kind of birthed all these rebel and, rebellious filmmakers.
Right. I mean, granted, Ed Wood, he was not a great filmmaker, and we can all agree on that. But he had the passion to do it. he had the passion to make films, and that's what really stands out about him. I mean, just look at Plan 9, Bride of the Monster, Glenda. I mean, those are 3 examples right there.
Hell, look at Roger Corman and his library of films. Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's his IMDb's like reading the Bible. I mean, it's just expansive. But it just seemed like the 1950s. I don't know. To me, it seemed like there was no restrictions on the person's creativity, and they could just be like, "I thought of this, and now I'm going to do it." And no, there was nobody there to be like, "No." And yes, there are some movies that probably should have got the no, but they didn't. And yeah, I mean, we could easily say Plan 9 from Outer Space. I mean, I'm pretty sure at the time in the 50s, people were like, "Why in the hell is this?" But it grows on you the more you watch it now. And to all you, new horror nerds out there, or those that are just discovering these movies, Plan 9 from Outer Space, I'm just going to go ahead and forewarn you. This is one of those movies that you can't just watch one time and walk away from and be like, I had the experience. You got to go back and keep watching it, because I guarantee you, every time you watch it, you are going to pick up on something different, whether it's a mistake. I think, wasn't there a couple of times where they actually got the boom mic in the shot?
Right.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's just full of mistakes, but the beauty of it is Wood shot that movie on one take for every scene.
Yep.
There was no reshoots, because he was sneaking in illegally into places and just doing whatever. And like we've said, poor Bela Lugosi, Bela Lugosi wasn't the best at managing money, which he made a ton of money for that period of time, but he didn't manage it well. He lived a very extravagant lifestyle, and therefore he squandered a lot of his money, and he got reduced to working with Ed Wood, but they became very good friends. And I think at the end of the day, that was probably the biggest treasure or wealth that you could have come away with.
Right. Ed Wood gave him a second chance.
Yep. And then you had Vampira, who predates, Elvira, Rhonda Shear, Darcy the Mail Girl now with Joe Bob Briggs. She was the original, the OG horror host, female horror host.
Yep.
And to see her in that film, knowing that she, how popular she was, but I guess her popularity was more of a cult following, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right. And she had just lost her show, and she had no choice but to take Plan 9.
That's right. She did. They pulled her off. Why was she like public access at the time, wasn't she?
Yeah. And she got canceled. So she had no choice.
And dude, from things I've read, she was like super protective of her brand. Like, I've heard Elvira tell stories about how she used to get nasty letters from.
I think she even tried to sue Elvira.
Yeah. Tried to sue her for the look, which, to be fair, it was similar, but they were two completely different personalities on screen.
You're right.
And I guess she just didn't. Sometimes imitation is the best flattery, right?
Yep, exactly right.
So when you go back and you look at these movies from the 50s, outside of, what was it, Teenagers from Outer Space, being that we're talking about your film, it came from somewhere. What are some of the other ones out there that actually tickle your fancy?
Excuse me. Bride of the Monster. That's one of them. Another Ed Wood movie. Now, a lot of them I catch from watching Mystery Science. I'm trying to think. There's so many of them. The Lost Continent. God, I want to say Rocket Ship X.
Rocket Ship XM. Yep.
Yes. And there's another. I can't think of it right now. I can't think of it, but it was the one with the guy in the gorilla suit with the space helmet on. I
Oh
can't think of the
God,
name of
yeah,
that
and
movie.
it had the little antennas off the top.
Yes.
Damn. Oh God, what was the name of that movie? See if I even put it on my list. No, it's not Bella. It's not Bella Lugosi meets the Brooklyn Gorilla.
No,
Uh,
no. Yeah. That's one of it. I mean, these movies, even though they're bad, they got a certain charm to them.
my favorite is Thing from Another World from by Howard Hawks. That one is. I mean,
Yeah.
I still love John Carpenter's The Thing. It is a classic, and I don't see anything that could touch it. But The Thing from Another World that Howard Hawks and Christian Nyby did in 1951, that one, I mean, you had so many firsts in that. I mean, you had the first full body burn that was ever seen on screen, where they actually lit the stuntman completely on fire, and
Hmm.
that was new. And you're talking about a budget film, and they're doing this stunt that's normally, a stunt like that would be reserved for a big budget film, right? And
Yep.
Hawks and them did it, and I mean, it had James Arness in it, who was very big in Hollywood, playing in westerns. The only thing is Arness wasn't too fond of his work in that film, and he kind of denounced it
Mm.
and didn't want to be associated with it. And it's sad, because I think had he known then what, or had known then what he knows that we know now. God, I can't even talk. You have to excuse me, guys. I do have medication in my system, so the fact that I'm able to coherently do this is amazing. But if he knew what we knew, I think he would have accepted it and held it in high regard, because it's a classic. It's a cult movie that has withstood the test of time, and people still reference it and go back to it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, Night of the Blood Beast is another one
Yep.
that I really like. I think that's a Corman film, if I remember correctly. Night of the
And
Blood Beast.
yeah, I'm trying to see if it's on my list here. I know the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms,
Right.
Donovan's Brain, the Four-Sided Triangle. Here's one. The House of Wax, the original, not the one that came
Yes.
out in the early 2000s. This was a Vincent Price movie,
Yep.
and he was a man who owned a wax museum, and he goes crazy and just starts murdering people and then posing their bodies in the museum on display. You had Invaders from Mars, and that's basically kind of, I don't know, it's more of a kid trying to save the world type movie, because the kid finds out that there's space aliens and they're taking over the minds of Earthlings and stuff. So it's
Right.
kind of like
Yep.
1950s Monster Squad.
The brain that wouldn't die.
Yep. It Came from Outer Space from 1953. That one was, I guess that one and A Thing from Another World are kind of similar, but not quite, I'm guessing. You had the Neanderthal Man, which I love. That one had Robert Shane and Joyce Terry in it. And it was about a professor who was an expert on prehistoric life, and something happens, and he kind of becomes a Neanderthal. So there you go. Trying not to give away too much, because I want people to watch these. Here's the one. This is the one right here. War of the Worlds, based off of the H.G.
Yep.
Wells radio drama.
Yep. That's actually a
And
good one out of the 50s.
and this movie didn't spark the riots in the street and the chaos. But War of the Worlds is famous for its radio drama, and I think it was like 1948, 49. I know it was right after the Second World War.
Hmm.
But supposedly the way that they did the whole radio drama, people thought that it was an actual news reporter coming on telling them that these aliens had landed and they're just blowing up everything in their path. So people just start panicking. They think this is true. There's like chaos in the streets. It just caused a whole big stink. And I think it was from there when they finally decided, okay, guys, we need to start coming on before the actual show starts and being like, this is a work of fiction. This is not true. So let's not, panic and run out in the streets and go crazy.
Now, they had something similar to that back in the 80s. It was a UK show. I think it was Ghost Hunt. That was it was a live broadcast, and it kind of fooled people that way.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you got the Creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954, and the man who played the creature in that movie is actually still alive to this day.
Mm.
I think he is the sole surviving member of that cast and crew. Let's see if I can find his name on here. He was the gill man when they had to do the swimming scenes.
Also, Frankenstein. Or was that 40? No, Frankenstein
Yeah,
was
that
the
was in
50s.
that was in 40. No, Frankenstein was in 32.
Or was it 30? Wow. Along with Dracula.
Rico Browning was the man who played the gill man in water. He was a master diver and stuff. So, and yeah, he's still alive today. I think he's like over 100 years old. Over 100, maybe somewhere in there. Here's probably the most famous monster movie ever that came out in 1954, Godzilla. Everybody knows who
Oh,
Godzilla is.
yeah. Wow, was
But
it 54?
because 54, so there was two versions. There was the Japanese version that came out in 54, and then later when it was brought to United States and we had
Raymond
Orson,
Burr.
yeah, Raymond Burr. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said Orson Welles, but Raymond Burr was in it. That was a little bit later. The Godzilla from Japan in 1954, it was very dark and depressing, and it was about, post-nuclear Japan and post-World War II Japan. And I mean, when you think of most Godzilla movies, you think, oh, two monsters going at it in a slugfest and, it's fun and whatever. This movie wasn't that. It was very dark and depressing and dealt with a lot of things outside of the monster. The monster was just part of the horrors that were, in that set in that universe. But it's
And it's,
still a great movie. It's hard to find on physical copy. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've had a hard time trying to find it on VHS.
also, the 50s was the birth of the other Japanese monster,
Yeah, the turtle one,
Gamera.
Gamera, that shot rockets out of his
Yep.
ass or his feet or something. And he had like saber-toothed tiger tusk.
Yep.
They still make Gamera films to this day. I mean, they still churn them out.
Oh, I tell you, the last three, the trilogy they did with Gamera, the
Mm-hmm.
best kaiju movies I've ever seen.
I'm gonna have to watch it
I
now
highly
because
check them out. I mean, it's good. They're really good.
is this the movie that you were talking about here, The Beast with a Million Eyes? That was Roger Corman. It
No,
had
but
Paul
that's
Kirk, Martin Thayer, and Donna Cole.
no. There was also that one movie where they were stuck in a cabin. Man, by dogs. I can't think of the name of it. It had John Best in it from Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh man, John Best.
Roscoe P.
Roscoe.
Coltrane.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, man, Corman. Woo, I'm sitting here looking at his stuff right now. His
Quite the
first
list.
movie, 1954, was Highway Dragnet. Then the second film was Monster from the Ocean Floor. He did the original Fast and the Furious, #family. Then he did Five Guns West, Beast with a Million Eyes, Apache Woman, Day the World Ended, Oklahoma Woman. So he kind of dabbled in westerns too. Gunslinger, It Conquered the World, Naked Paradise, Attack of the Crab Monsters, The Undead, on and on and on. Then he finally got into some like mobster movies, Machine Gun Kelly, Brain That Wouldn't Die, Brain Eaters, The Wasp Women. I remember that one. The Wasp Woman, I should say.
Yeah, he's got quite the catalog. That he's still going.
Is Corman still alive?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he made Carnosaur about the same time that Jurassic Park, the original one, came out, and Carnosaur, he's still going.
Damn, I didn't know he was still around. I thought he had
I'm
passed
pretty
on.
sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's still alive. He had all those releases, but there's one movie he never released.
Which one was that?
That was the Fantastic Four one.
Oh, yeah, that was him that was trying to do that. And have you ever seen that documentary?
Yes. It's amazing.
That movie would have been so good, I think. I mean, it would have been cheesy as crap, but it would have been so good. I know that Thing suit, it left a lot to be desired, but think about it. It was a practical suit. It wasn't a computer CGI, whatever. And that's what I liked about the other Fantastic Four movies that came out in like 2005. They had Chickless that played in that movie, The Shield, or the show The Shield.
Mm-hmm.
He wore that Thing suit, and I was like, man, everybody craps on it, but dude, to me, I saw the beauty in it because it was a practical suit. It wasn't made on a computer and didn't have a guy in a green screen suit.
Right.
And I can appreciate that because I am a practical effects nerd. I love that stuff. I know it takes a lot of time to do and it's not very cost effective, but to me, you get better acting out of your actors when they got something that they can actually look at too.
Exactly. And that's what
Instead
I'm kind of
of
going for with, like, it came from somewhere. I mean, we're going to have, obviously, the guy in the suit. That's going to be pretty, cheesy looking, but.
Well, I think you're on to something here with that because to me, this is virgin territory. Now, maybe not 70 years ago, obviously. Yeah, it was done to death in the 70s or 50s. But nobody's doing that now, man. And you're tackling that. I've been around this indie movie scene for about 2 years and seen a lot of these campaigns and a lot of these filmmakers, and I have yet to see anybody do a pure black and white 1950s drive-in schlock movie, if you want to call it that. Just, popcorn movie, cheesy acting, maybe even bad acting, but just a damn good time. And that to me is what the movies is all about. It's about you pay your money, you sit down, and you just enjoy the ride.
Right. You're entertained for an hour and a half or so.
Yeah, I don't need every movie to be an Academy Award winner. One of my favorite movies, and I've talked about it extensively, is Wolfcop. And it would have definitely worked in the 50s. I mean, if you'd cut out the blood and gore and a lot of the swear words, but just the fact that it was a werewolf that was a cop. And people crapped on it and this, that, the other, but I'm like, if you watch it, give it a chance. It's an awesome, awesome film. Because guess what? I couldn't stop watching it. And that means if you have a film like that where you can't take your eyes off of it, you've won.
Right. And that's the whole point of this. It came from somewhere, is just to have fun with it. Just have fun. If we make a mistake, you know what? Maybe we'll leave it in the film. You know what? Just leave it in there. You bumble a line, keep it in. I mean, it happened back there. They didn't care. They were in a rush to get it done, to get it out, because they didn't have the budget.
Or you're trying to keep from getting arrested.
Right, that too.
So, how hard was it for you to get actors and actresses on board for this thing? Was it pretty easy?
Once I brought it up to like my stable of actors and actresses, they didn't hesitate. They were all aboard. They're like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Who was that young girl in the trailer, man? She nailed her facial expressions and stuff. And every time I watch it, I always go back to her. I'm like, man, she's got talent.
Yeah, that's Delilah Hefner, the one holding up the little bunny in the bed.
Yeah.
She's gonna have her time with the creature. I don't want to give too much away, but she's gonna have time with the creature itself. So, it's kind of like a Frankenstein moment. So,
I got you. Except he's not going to grab her and throw her into a lake.
Right. We're not going to go that far,
but. So it's basically, I'm just guessing, and you don't have to tell me yes or no. It's going to be kind of like a misunderstood monster type of thing.
No.
Okay.
I drew heavily off Teenagers from Outer Space. I drew heavily off that. So a space flying saucer crashes, releases this monster. It gets on the loose, and these group of teenagers, quote unquote, because teenagers back then were played by 25, 26-year-olds, and they split up into groups and they go looking for it while it's out there killing people and. And, they got ray guns. The alien pirates have ray guns, and they use them, on people.
Man, it's almost like you created like a black and white version of Psycho Gorman. Have you seen that film?
I have not.
Watch that. That's a good film. That's I'm not going to give any of it away. And none of you all that's watching right now, give it away in the chat, please. Just messing, but you'd like it. It kind of has that. Your movie and that one's kind of similar a little bit, except Psycho Gorman is not for children. That's number one. There's children in it, but I probably wouldn't let my children watch it. Well, I don't know. I was a weird parent because I used to sneak horror movies all the time. So I used to let my boys watch them. So to a degree. I mean, I didn't let them watch like the uber gory stuff.
Right. You didn't sit them down in front and go, here's Faces of Death. Enjoy.
Yeah. Most of what I let them watch was what we're talking about. The focus that we're on is like, 30s, 40s, 50s. Stuff that was more tame.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times my kids would walk away going, well, that kind of sucked. Where was the payoff at the end? Where was this? Where was that? I'm like, y'all just can't watch it just to appreciate it for what it is. You got to nitpick it. Fine. Don't enjoy the things that your father likes. Now my youngest son, he likes what was the one movie I had? He likes a lot of the 80s horror, which pushed the envelopes on a lot of things. But I'm a huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre nerd. I've got Chainsaw Massacre crap everywhere. And he hated that movie.
Really?
And yeah. And he said he hated it because he said that damn girl screams too much. I'm like, dude, she's literally in the house with cannibals with a chainsaw, and one dude is wearing a people mask.
Right. Supposed to be laughing.
Yeah, and he was like, oh God, she screams way too much. It's so stupid.
To me, like, the 80s are like great for horror.
It was, but I think to a degree, I have always kind of thought this, and I've kept that opinion to myself until now. I think it got oversaturated too much, and in turn, it affected the '90s because nobody wanted horror in the '90s. When you look at the '90s, horror was
Dead.
pretty much non-existent. It wasn't until you got Scream that really it took back off again. And
Right. Yeah,
so,
you had knockoffs coming out all the time in the 80s.
yeah, I mean, and some of those knockoffs were great, but for the most part, they were bad. They were so bad. I think this one's a guilty pleasure. It had a movie and a sequel, and it was the Slumber Party Massacre.
Yep.
And the first one was good. I enjoyed it, but that second one where that dude was dressed like a 1950s greaser with that wicked looking guitar, and he just had this really cheesy Elvis type vibe going on. Yeah, that I loved it, but it didn't help horror, I will say.
No.
Trauma with Lloyd Kaufman. I think Lloyd Kaufman and Trauma.
Yeah.
I
Toxic Avenger. Yeah, that's
To me, I think Lloyd Kaufman, to an extent, helped keep horror fresh. He kept horror fresh in the '80s because no two movies were the same with him. It was always something different. Now, yeah, Toxic Avenger did spawn sequels, and so did Nukem High. But other than that, it was always an original idea. But a lot of times it was just knockoffs. Like you had Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then somebody's like, "Well, I'm going to do Kentucky Chainsaw Massacre," just something like that. Or then you had like Friday the 13th, and then somebody else would try to do a Friday the 13th, and
right.
to a degree, Friday the 13th Part 1 didn't get compared to Halloween, but I want to say Part 2 kind of got compared to Halloween because you got this big unstoppable murder monster that's just coming after you.
Right. Who doesn't die no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember watching those trauma class in Nukem High and Toxic on USA Up All Night.
With Rhonda Shear.
Yep. And Gilbert Gottfried first. I think he was first.
Yep. Good old Gilbert. Rhonda Shear. I had a crush on her. Who didn't, I guess.
Right.
It's Up All Night with Rhonda Shear.
Yeah. I can never get my voice to that. Up All Night.
I'm surprised my voice didn't give out trying to do that. So for those that don't know, I think I mentioned it at first. I did have surgery yesterday, so if I'm rambling on, I do apologize. I hurt, and I am on medication, so you guys are lucky that I'm doing this. No, I'm just kidding. I wanted to do this because I wanted to talk to Steve, because I'm just down for what you got going on, brother. That when Amy sent me that, I was like, okay, what's the perks? And I found that associate producer perk, and I said and just signed up for it.
But I wanted to do something unique, something different than the typical horror that you see to the indie side of filmmaking. And I just did a horror film, and I wanted to do something different. And
yeah, because your other horror film was more of a 80s slasher, correct?
Yep. Yes. Yep.
And see, that's good, man, because you're putting tools in your toolbox. You're not just getting hung up into one specific genre of horror. You're 80s slasher, and then you're going, oh, but look over here, Roger Corman and Ed Wood, gotcha. So,
hey, who knows? Maybe next time it'll be a silent film, and I don't have to write anything.
Dude, if you make a fucking silent, excuse my language, of where am I at on YouTube? I either do the live streams on Facebook or YouTube. I think I did this one on YouTube. But excuse my language, Mark Zuckerberg and Google. But if you do a silent film Dude, you just tell me how much money you need, and I've got you. I am the hugest silent film nerd there is. I love that shit. I have most of all of them on DVD. I just got Cabinet of Dr. Caligari the other day, and I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but I just love those movies because I love that. To me, those actors without dialogue are working harder
Hmm.
than actors with dialogue because they got to convey, you know,
Everything through
emotion.
their emotions.
Yeah, emotion, and their emotions have to speak to you, the audience, and then the soundtracks for a lot of them. Well, back in those days, they always had a lady that would sit down in front of the theater
Hmm.
and she would play a piano,
Right, right.
or
And
they would.
also, little did they know that was probably the birthplace of closed captioning.
Yep. So here's the thing, guys. No, a lot of times, no two copies of, like, say, Nosferatu or Dr. Caligari, for that matter, no two normally have the same soundtrack, and that's because a lot of the theaters back then just made it up as they went because it was a lady down in front, and sometimes I guess they would have sheet music for it, but for the most part, it was just on the fly. She would just look at the screen, and as she was watching it, that's the beauty of it. As she was watching it too, she would just play,
Hmm.
and or man or whoever was down there playing the piano. But yeah, I've seen so many. Like Dr. Caligari is like in my top 5. Have you ever seen that one?
I have not.
Please, I will send it to you on. It's on YouTube. You can watch it for free.
Was it?
Um, it's it encapsulates so many different genres. You have mad scientist, you have monster, you have psychological, murder mystery, and there's a little tinge of a slasher.
Was it the original Phantom of the Opera?
Yeah, with Lon Chaney Sr.
Yes. Now that was silent too, wasn't it?
Yep. That one was silent. Hunchback of Notre Dame. The first talkie, that's what they called them back then. The first talkie horror movie was Dracula with
Mm.
Bela Lugosi. That was the first horror movie. Well, it's a toss up. There's another movie that predated Dracula, but I can't call it a horror movie per se. I think it was called The Cat Ladies or Cat Women or something to that effect. Cat People. Something to do with cats, and I don't have it
Mhm.
up in front of me to know, um, but they
I
said,
think it was called Cat People.
yeah, and they say that one was the first talkie horror, but no, to me, and a lot of other people that have looked at horror genre as a whole say Dracula was the very first that had an actual dialogue, spoken dialogue. So that's why there's such a big gap between how the audio quality is between Dracula and a year later with Frankenstein, because it's a lot of crackly in it because they're not used to recording dialogue. They'd been making silent movies, and then
Mm-hmm.
so Dracula and Frankenstein only being a year apart, the technology in that year just went like 10 years into the future kind of way in that 1 year span. So, but yeah, I mean, that movie was, to me, was the original spoken word film, talkie, as the old timers call it. But yeah, the silent film era, man, if you could go back and tap into that, but the problem is, this is something that not every actor can pull off.
Right. Yeah. And
I would,
it'd be tough. I would think it would be tough to write pure just action scenes.
well, you would probably have to pull from not acting schools, but maybe you could get free actors and actresses out of an acting school. But You would definitely need actors and actresses that have had some stage time, like Broadway stage or just Playhouse, just something to that effect, because they're trained into using body emotion and movement and facial expressions and different things. Like that college in New York City that Robin Williams went to. Anyway, they
It would
made him, huh?
it
Juilliard.
would definitely be a challenging film to make.
Yeah. But yeah, Juilliard was the school I was thinking of. They actually have a class where they make them wear masks, and they tell them, the students, they say, now make me believe that you're sad or make me believe that you're happy without me seeing your face.
Hmm.
And that's a class you have to take at Juilliard. Adam Driver, who played in the Star Wars movie, he went to Juilliard, and I watched a TED talk where he was talking about that. He was like, yeah, he's like, that was the hardest class there, was just wearing that mask. So when he did Star Wars, Kylo Ren, and wore that mask, he's like, oh, that wasn't shit, just, then I had it down pat because I'd been to college for it already. So what would you do if it was a silent film? Here's the thing. If it was a silent film, what would you do it on?
What how would I film it?
No, what would be your, monster or the premise or whatever? I mean, what would you focus on? Would it be like a classic gothic horror, like a Dracula, a Frankenstein, or would it be?
Oh, now that would be interesting. That a Nosferatu type thing.
I'll give you a challenge.
Uh-oh.
You've already got a villain who now I don't know if you're into the fan film thing or not, but you already got a villain that doesn't talk, which that goes for so many within that genre. But a Halloween, the original Halloween, but remade into a silent film.
Ooh.
Now you
So
would
it's
have
back
that
in the 20s or present day?
present day, but silent and in black and white.
Oh, no, yeah, that would be challenging. That's an interesting concept.
You wouldn't have to worry about the villain or the antagonist being able to talk, but you got Laurie, you've got Dr. Loomis.
Yeah.
And Loomis, especially, you would have to have a damn good actor to play that part. Because his lines, I shot him 6 times. Like he says that like so many times over and over. And then that famous monologue. But yeah, that would be a hard one to pull off.
Right. When you have to put up like what they set up on screen.
Yep.
It would only have to be like a sentence or two. You couldn't put up like a paragraph.
No.
You have to keep it simple. Straight to the point.
What's another good one? I can think of?
Got Jason.
Nah, I like Jason. I like Friday the 13th, but I just feel like that's been done to death.
They all have, really. Even Michael Myers.
Yeah.
What are they like?
Lost Boys?
A vampire?
No, that would be way too much to have to do because that's such an expansive movie. It's just so much going on. You would need something.
With vampires.
Yeah.
But even doing that back in the 20s style would be interesting. No, that would be too hard.
Well, they did. There was a Frankenstein silent movie that Thomas Edison, I think, did, and it was lost. There's the only thing that's left is a couple of pictures. I mean, the film itself was gone; it got destroyed. Yeah, there was a Frankenstein film that was silent that Thomas Edison tried to do, and there was a wolf, not a wolf man, but yeah, it was called The Wolf. That was a silent film. That was the first werewolf movie. There was never a Dracula silent film that I'm aware of, and any of you guys in the chat, or if you watch this video later and can correct me, go in the comments and let me know. But I don't think there was ever a Dracula film that was silent.
That would be present day. Yeah, that would be interesting.
But keep it simple, you know.
Right.
Keep it simple. Yeah, you could. I take that back. There was a Dracula silent film that was Nosferatu, but because Bram Stoker's widow got like really shitty over the whole thing, they had to change him from Dracula to Count Orlok. So maybe you could redeem it and make an actual Dracula silent film.
That he's public domain now. He's open game.
Yep. So would you do Bela Lugosi Dracula, or would you do a Christopher Lee style?
Oh, Bela Lugosi, all the way.
It's a hard toss up for me because Christopher Lee's acting went kind of, he cared less and less about the role as the sequels went on. But that first one, The Horror of Dracula,
right?
That one was so good. And that was, to him, that was a one-off. He didn't want to do any more after that. But yeah,
Bela had the original,
and Bela had this magnetism about him and this elegance and very aristocratic, I guess you would say, where Christopher Lee's was more menacing and kind of animalistic to an extent. Here we are. We're sitting here trying to talk about your movie you're getting ready to do now. We're trying to plan out your next one.
We're planning out the next one.
Don't none of y'all steal this idea, damn it.
we got it marked down a date and a time. So
yeah.
That seems to be the thing going on now with fan films.
Yeah, and I enjoy them, and you know, I've got a lot of friends that's made them. My buddy Steve Merlot's making a prequel, unofficial prequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre called Sawyer Massacre. And I've got, Jason Pitts. He made Voorhees Night of the Beast, which is like Jason Voorhees takes on Bigfoot. And I enjoy them, but I enjoy when you guys come up with original stuff too. That's my thing. It's like, okay, show me something I haven't seen. That gets me excited. But with Steve and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I've been hardcore trying to help him get that movie. I've probably given him so much money. I don't even know. Trying to help him sell. I've made him t-shirts and sold t-shirts for him. I've bought just about every perk he had. I've given away perks when he's done trivia nights and stuff. And I'm just a huge fan of this old boy right here.
Yeah. How did you like the Netflix?
I hated that one.
Yeah, I know.
Hate any of you out there that actually liked it. I hate shit on your parade, but Uncle John didn't. If it wasn't a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film and it was just a parody of and would have been called something else, I'd have been fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it just didn't have that same feel to me as the original. And it left so many plot holes and so many gaps, and the characters themselves, the what was supposed to be the protagonist, I found so just unbearably just
boring,
annoying that I was glad when they were getting ganked. Because I don't know, man, that movie was supposed to be a major theatrical release, but it went, I think, according to what some of the things I've read, it had like 3 or 4 directors that quit the project and all kinds of other stuff. And here's the thing. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is, I've always said that character's a little more complex than maybe a Jason and a Michael, because Jason and Michael just are silent, murder tanks. They have a singular purpose. You step in their way, they take you out. with Leatherface, to me, it's a little bit more complex because when you watch him, and there was some scenes in this new one that I liked because there is a semblance of humanity within the guy, but it's tainted.
Hmm.
And his view of right and wrong is not the same as ours. And he acts on emotion, and when he's wronged, he's just going to tear you apart with a chainsaw.
So,
And this new film, it just felt like they made him kind of supernatural.
I was just going to say he kind of fell in that realm of a Jason or Michael.
That leap he did up out of that water, I was like, wow, that's impressive for a 70, 60-year-old man, however old he was.
No, I did like the bus scene.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're going to cancel you, bro. Yeah, well, that didn't go the way you wanted. But the Sally Hardesty character, I was like, why did you all even bring her into it?
Right. That really didn't make sense.
You bring her into it, and then just as soon as she sees Leatherface, she gets done in like 5 minutes.
Right. Right.
And
not even hardly a fight.
yeah, and it was almost like they were trying to copy. They were kind of trying to copy Halloween 2018 with Jamie Lee Curtis being the PTSD, survivor that constantly is looking over her shoulder because she knows she's going to have to fight the enemy again. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a little nervous about this next Halloween movie because I didn't like Halloween Kills, so I'm a little iffy on this Halloween End shit. I don't know how this one's gonna roll.
Right. Halloween ends for good, or
Yeah, I don't know if it. They ain't never gonna get rid of Michael Myers. That's cha-ching. You're gonna make money every time, but I don't know.
there'll be a remake of a remake.
I'm just not feeling. I haven't watched the trailer yet because I'm supposed to do a trailer reaction, so I'm trying not to watch it. And
I didn't even know it was coming out until I saw somebody posted on Facebook.
yeah, I was supposed to do a trailer reaction the other day, but of course I ended up in the hospital with my blood pressure going through the roof and trouble with my kidneys, and ended up having to have surgery. Not what I had on my plans for the week, but life happens. But I was supposed to do a trailer reaction for that, but I'm going to do that probably Monday. So I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard bits and pieces. I've heard some people say, yeah, I like it. Some people was like, yeah, it was awesome. Then I've heard a lot of, little like, here and there, like they had me with the 2018 and then now they're kind of losing me.
Did you like the Rob Zombie's version of it? Of Halloween?
Certain things about it I did, but a lot of it, no. A lot of it, no. It was, yeah. Was it more brutal? Yeah.
Well,
Easily. Did they get a good actor to play the part of Michael Myers? Yes and no. Nothing against Taylor Maine. His size, his imposing stature was perfect for the character. I mean, he was a former professional wrestler. And so he was big Jack. This is the guy that also played Sabretooth in the 2000 X-Men movie. So his look, his body and all that, yes, great. That's, when you think of Michael Myers, you think of this big yoked up dude that can just rip you apart. But I don't know, man.
I did like Malcolm McDowell though.
Yeah. But the way I always base a lot of the way that, like with these new movies, I could say the saving grace for these new movies, James Jude Courtney. If you ain't got Nick Castle, James Jude Courtney is, that's your go-to for Michael Myers because James Jude Courtney nails it. I might not have liked Halloween Kills, but the way he moves, the way his mannerisms are, the way he just completely plays the character harkens back to that 1978 Nick Castle. He's just, I think he's a bit taller than Nick, to be truthfully honest, but he's just got it nailed. He's the saving grace to it. I felt, and this is my own personal opinion, that the first movie, Jamie Lee Curtis should have died in
The
that
first
fire.
Halloween?
Yep, she should have. Well, not the one from 78, but the 2018 one.
Okay.
I felt that she should have stayed in the house with him when it burned and sacrificed herself.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. Because you get to this next movie, Halloween Kills, and it was just her laying in a hospital bed for just about the whole movie. So it was kind of just like a waste.
And I could remake it a second one.
Yeah.
78, whatever that was.
A lot of times I think these filmmakers go in thinking, oh, this is, Jason Michael and Leatherface. This will be an easy movie for me to make. It's not.
Mm-mm.
These are not easy characters to pull off. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to hear about it because a lot of these horror fans out here, I do hold them in very close to my heart because I love the shit, and it's been my passion ever since I was a little boy. Films in general has been my passion since I was a little boy. But there's some fans out there.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yes, sir. The internet's a Wild West show when you fuck around with something that people, oops, I said the F word again, but when you mess around with something that people hold near and dear to their hearts, I mean, look at the hate that Disney got for them Star Wars movies. It's the same thing when you go screwing around with these horror icons.
Yep. Yeah. You can all same way with Star Trek. You mess it up, boy, you're going to hear it.
I mean, my God, I've seen fan films that people have done on YouTube, and people have put in like "I hope you die" and shit like that on it. And I'm like, dude, it's a fan film. I mean, at least he's being, he loved the character enough to at least make a fan film. He didn't make no money off it.
Right.
But people get very, very upset.
That they do.
Now, when that new Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, yes, I did. I got very enraged about it. I was very upset. But I didn't go online and try to look up the actors and the filmmakers on Twitter just to tell them to fall off the end of the world and stuff.
You're not going to stalk them down on the internet and hound them and
stand over them while they're asleep at night.
You effed up Michael Myers.
How did you mess up my leather face? Now I'm going to mess up your face. Back to your movie, man. Your damn campaign seems to have blowed up all of a sudden. Every time I look on social media, you're announcing somebody else's, or Amy's announcing somebody else as part of it now.
Yeah, it got off to a good start. Hopefully we can keep the momentum going.
Yeah, because when I did the associate producer perk, you had sold a few, but it was like some of the cheaper perks. And then all of a sudden it was like, damn, he's getting the executive producer perks and all these bigger perks. I'm like, he's going to get this thing done. Cool.
I hope so. We're all looking forward to filming it. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to film. We're going to be filming it in September.
Where are you going to be filming it at, if you don't mind me asking?
Central Illinois.
Oh. When does it start getting cold in Illinois?
I would say maybe middle of October. You start to get a little chill.
I should have guessed you were from Illinois. You got a Blackhawks hat on.
Yep.
I really wish they'd get their shit together, because I don't know how in the world you went from having a dynasty that was winning Stanley Cups every time you turned around, and now they can't even get in the playoffs.
Yeah, now they're all gutted. They only got Taves and Kane, the only ones left.
And they're so overpaid, you can't bring nobody else in.
Nope.
I collect hockey jerseys, so I've got a closet. I know you can probably see some of the sleeves.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. What do you got? Pittsburgh. That's Boston. I can see.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh,
Tim. Uh, that's
Detroit. Carolina.
note Capitals.
Oh,
Hold on. This is my newest one. I just got off eBay. Well, broke.
the Canadians.
Yeah, got them. I do have a Carolina one in here. It's their flag, or the one with the flag, hurricane flags, and then I've got Florida Panthers, Colorado Avalanche. I've got Blackhawks, but I got them put back there because I didn't want them to get messed up. I got just a blank team jersey, and then I've got a Winter Classic Taves.
Oh,
yeah, I might be the only guy on Hawaii that actually watches hockey.
Right. They probably asked hockey. What's that?
Yeah. You ought to see when I go outside with a hockey jersey on in the winter over here, because it does get a little cool over here. It gets around 70s. So I can actually wear my hockey jerseys in the around the winter time, fall and winter. And you ought to see people looking at me like, what in the hell is that he's got on? Or they'll be intrigued. They'll be like, I've seen that on TV before, but never really knew what it was. Like I've got a Vancouver Canucks with the sticking rink on the front.
Oh, that's an old
I've
one.
had people ask me, they were like, what is that weird design on the front? I was like, okay, so here's the history of the many hideous jerseys that the Vancouver Canucks have made.
Yeah, they had some hideous ones. Yellow.
Yeah, the tiger, or what they called the Flying V.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, so their original jerseys were a skate rink with a hockey stick and a puck. That was it.
Yep, kind of like Quebec, Nordiques, the original ones.
And then I said after that they had I've got their flying skate, which Canadians call the plate of spaghetti jersey. That's actually my favorite of the Vancouver jerseys. I wish they'd have kept that one, the old flying skate. I like that one, but they changed it to that C with the orca.
What did they have in the mid 80s or early 80s? I know they had some ugly yellow ones.
They had that flying V.
Was that it?
And that's where they had it had the flying skate, but the skate, instead of, most teams put their logos on the front,
mm-hmm.
They had the logo on the sleeves, and there was nothing on the front. It was just this turd brown, orange, and yellow stripe that come down to a V.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And those things are ugly as shit. But for some reason, I want one. I won't wear it, but I want one. To me, the original 6 jerseys, though, you don't touch them.
They haven't changed.
I mean, you can't. There's nothing there to update or anything. I mean, Jesus, Canadians, Blackhawks, Rangers,
Detroit, Boston,
Toronto,
and Boston.
Yep. And all those teams have had different logos in the past, but that was before the actual formation of the NHL. Damn, we've turned this into an actual NHL podcast all of a sudden.
We've gone from horror movies to NHL talk.
But yeah, I'm a Vancouver Canuck fan, but I also I kind of like every team. I mean, but I do lean more towards the Canucks because I've always liked the underdog. But my second favorite team, I would have to say, is Carolina Hurricanes because I'm from North Carolina.
Mm.
And then after that, I've always been partial to the Red Wings because of Ted Lindsay and Gordie Howe.
Yeah. Boo.
But I like your all's jerseys, man. And I'm surprised that you all not had to change your jerseys because of the,
Actually, what happened, they tried to, but let's see if I can remember this correctly. the tribe actually stood up and said, no, it's an honor for the Hawks to have that as their logo. So they didn't change it.
Yeah, because it was Chief Blackhawk, wasn't it?
Yep.
Wasn't it his name?
Yeah. But they
And
tried to change the logo, but like, no, it's an honor, to have it, that you're using it. It's an honor for us that you're using it.
well, it's not a derogatory name like Redskins,
Right. Right.
It's an actual name of an indigenous person's a tribe's chief, Blackhawk. That was his name, Chief Blackhawk. And I think was he still alive when that team formed and he gave them the permission to use his name?
That I don't know. I just remember them trying to change it, get rid of the logo, get something different. Yeah, that's what I remember a couple of years ago when it was going through all this, this name is bad. This is like they did with the Cleveland Indians.
Well, to be fair, as much as I used to think that little cartoon Indian head was kind of cool looking as a kid, it didn't. And as I got older, it did kind of, it kind of did come off as a little, like them old cartoons, the way they would portray Japanese people and stuff. It did come off kind of cringy. That was the word I was looking for.
I don't even know what they go by today.
Guardians.
Okay. Oh, Guardians. That's right.
So actually, when you read the history of Cleveland baseball, they did have a team way back in the day called the Guardians. So they just went back to that. So everything is the same except the Indian word mark and the little head, the little Indian head. So, I mean, the color scheme, the jerseys, everything still kind of looks the same. And their logo is a baseball with these blocky looking wings on the side of it. I'm sure they'll change it at some point. No, the wings are in the shape of G's. There you go. I bought a few of the authentic Cleveland Indian on-field hats before they changed the name just to save them, because I knew at some point in history, way down the line in my life, they may be worth some money and I can pass it on to my grandchildren if I am so blessed to have grandchildren and be like, here, this is historical items from baseball that will never exist again.
Mm-hmm.
You can do something with this someday. So hang on to it. And my grandfather, he was a huge Washington Redskins fan for football, but I think he would have agreed with them changing the name. I just wish they'd have kept it as the Washington football team and not the Commanders. I think that sounds so stupid, but
that's the name they went with. The Commanders.
Yeah, the Washington Commanders. I was like, why couldn't you just call them like the Washington Red Pigs? I mean, they used to have the O line that they called the Hogs, but I just always thought maybe just keep it as the Washington football team. It kind of grew on me after a while. When they first come out with it, I was like, that sounds so stupid. But then after a while, I was like, that's so cool because it's got this nostalgia feel to it, like old school sports from back in like the 1900s and 1910s and shit. And I was like, I kind of like it. Even though I'm a New York Giants fan and I hate Washington, but I still kind of like the fact, they just had that nostalgia about it, that Washington football team.
Right. I mean, when they show the score at the bottom, it will say like Giants and underneath their football team.
Yep. Or WFT. Yeah, I'm a Giants fan. I know that's sad because we suck.
But
you writing any more books?
I have actually. It's been a while. It's been like a year and a half, but I was writing the sequel to the Amorium trilogy. I'm about, I would say, 85% done with it. I just have to find time to finish the other 15%. So it kind of picks up after a couple of years after Amorium ends.
Okay, gotcha. And all your books are on Amazon, right? Digital and and physical?
They're all digital. The only ones that are physical are Morium, the complete trilogy, Stranded, and Perfect Soul, I believe.
Gotcha. Are you going to do It Came From Somewhere as a book, just maybe as a novelization at some point?
Do it in reverse.
Well, I mean,
Instead of adapting my books, adapt my movie into a book.
yeah, just do it in reverse. Make it longer and fill in the blanks like they do in most movie adaptions. Don't ask me to write it because that would be shit. But, yeah, I think it would be cool. Or do it like an audio book. Have your actors and actresses read the lines and record it.
How do they say it back? A radio dramatization?
Yeah, and then put it on Audible. Say, look, I'm making you money. Nah, man. I'm just excited that you're doing this thing because I have not seen anybody try to tackle the 50s movie scene at all in quite a while. And even if they do, it's time period specific, but it's always in color and real pretty and more modern Hollywood, where yours is grainy and and I'm not talking, I'm not putting your movie down, but it's got that graininess and that aesthetic, and
it's got those scratches going across the screen.
the scratches and the little hair every now and then that goes up the reel and or hangs down and waves at you and then disappears. I mean, it just all those little nuances, man. And that's really the time machine. That's really what takes you back in time. It's just all those little subtleties.
I mean, we're planning on making the alien cockpit. I mean, like cardboard control panels and like a coffee table or something, or a fold-up table.
You are all really going to just Ed Wood the shit out of this thing, ain't you?
Oh yeah, because I got that inspiration from the cockpit scene. It came from from Plan 9, where they're holding like the wooden steering wheel and the drapes in the back for the door.
Yeah, the spaceship cockpit. So we said earlier, go watch Plan 9 from Outer Space. Do it. If you notice, a lot of times the sets that they've made are not put together very well. So as you notice, the actors walk onto them, and they're very gingerly walking up, and you'll notice that the scene or the set pieces will start shaking, almost like they're going to fall. It's hilarious as hell. I mean,
that's what we're going for.
But it's so awesome that he pulled it off when everybody told him he couldn't. That's the thing. His movie, though not great, is the big middle finger to everybody that told him he couldn't.
Yep.
Now, it's not good. It's terrible. But he did it. He made it. And it became a cult icon that people to this day still remember.
Yep. Because you say Ed Wood, that's the first movie that's going to come to your mind.
And that's his magnum opus. As terrible as it is, that's his magnum opus.
Yep, as Johnny Depp said in the movie, this is the movie that everybody will remember me by. And yep.
Yeah, Ed Wood, I wish I could have met him. I bet he was a strange bird.
Jeez.
Bet he'd been fun to drink a beer with. It's just I could never understand how him and Bela Lugosi became friends, because here's Bela, this very aristocratic, Hollywood royalty, very well spoken, and just, the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Ed Wood.
But by the time Ed Wood found him, he was all drugged out on opium and.
Oh yeah, that's right. Bela was in the gutter real bad at that time.
Right. That's where his money went.
He got drinking real bad, and like I said earlier, I was trying to be nice about it, but Bela Lugosi, you can't say he wore a white hat. He didn't. He
No.
he got caught up in those what do they call it, the excesses of Hollywood life,
Mm-hmm.
which back then wasn't methamphetamine and heroin and all that we have now, but uh it was more liquor. I don't know. I don't think they had any of the. Well, I guess it was opium and
Yeah,
heroin, same thing.
I can't remember what he was shooting up what he was shooting up. I thought it was heroin, maybe. I can't remember now.
It could have been because that would fit the time frame of when that drug kind of started coming around, was around the 50s when they finally discovered morphine. Well, maybe, I don't know. It's been a while since I've done any history research on something like that, but it probably was. That's the only thing I could think of that he would have been shooting up. Would have been morphine, maybe, which is heroin.
I just have to watch Ed Wood again.
I'm gonna probably watch Plan 9 here in a little bit just to watch it again. I know I got two more. Well, I got to finish watching Robocop because I'm doing a retrospective on that here next week.
Oh man, that's a good one.
I'm trying to launch a new show. So you guys out there, I'm trying to grow this channel where it's not just me sitting here talking to people, which I have fun doing, but I know with YouTube, people want a variety. So I'm trying to make a more high production type of video series that I do once a month, and I'm going to call it my movie store memories. And my first one's going to be the Robocop because it's celebrated its 35th anniversary this week.
Wow, 35 years.
So I'm writing a script for that. So, and I'm going to one-man show it, and hopefully I can play more than one character. No, it's going to be basically me reminiscing about being a kid when that movie came out and the impact that it had on me as a kid. And if y'all watch, I'm going to have some special effects where I'm actually going to have like Ed 209 show up on me and Robocop's going to show up on me. Not for real, through the magic of green screen and special effects. But, yeah, just want to do something fun. And I'm on leave for a week because of my surgery, so I'm going to have fun doing something or I'm going to die of boredom.
Wow, has it been 35 years for Robocop?
Yep, 35.
Huh.
I was 11 years old, and I saw the newspaper ad because that's one of the things I mentioned is it was the 80s. We didn't have the internet, and the only way you could find out when a movie was playing, what day it was coming out, its show times and all that, there was a special section of in the newspaper that was dedicated entirely to the movie theaters in your area. I
Yeah.
don't know. And I remember opening up the newspaper, Carteret County News Times, shout out. And there was this big spread for Robocop from Orion Pictures coming out, summer of 87. And it was just a picture from the VHS case, actually, of Robocop getting out of the cop car. And I was like, dude, this is going to be so awesome. And then it was rated R. And of course, my grandparents were very devout Christian. And my mom had passed away in 86. So I was kind of living with my grandparents, and they were not going to let me go see this movie, not in the theaters. So what you all will hear in this is how little 11-year-old John managed to see the film Secret. Shh. I had to sneak. Well,
Running
man,
Man was also 80s. That was like 88.
88, 89. Running Man was a Stephen King book
Yep.
too. What?
Yes, it was.
God, that
Little known
movie.
facts.
And that movie had the main antagonist in it was actually the original host of Family Feud.
Yep, Richard Dawson.
A lot of people don't know that, but the game show host and Running Man was actually old. What was it he was known for? Was kissing all the women.
Yes, giving them all kisses.
Yep. Old Richard Dawson was the main antagonist. So Family Feud guy and Arnold Schwarzenegger went head to head. I love that damn movie. Them characters are so stupid, especially the opera singing guy, Electro or whatever his name.
Electro was one. I was trying to think who Jesse Ventura was.
Captain Freedom or something like that.
Yeah, it was Captain something.
He was like retired, but at the end he decided to go back into fighting. Then you had, was it Pyro, the guy with the flamethrowers?
Yes. Yep. God, those movies are great.
The premise of those movies is if you were a convicted criminal, you got put into this game, kind of like Hunger Games, just way more violent. And you would be broadcast over cable television, and you would try to survive this by taking. It's like American Gladiators, except the gladiators would kill you, basically.
Yeah, the electric guy got electrocuted.
Yep. Yeah. Pyro got burned up by his own flamethrower. That car Electro had, man, he was so much bigger than that car. And he had all them Christmas tree lights all over him. God, that movie was bad.
Do you remember that movie, Death Race 2000?
Yeah, with Frankenstein.
Yeah,
Roger Corman did that one.
No, yeah, but David Carradine.
Yep, he was Frankenstein. He wore a gimp mask, like a sex slave mask. And then when the race started, he took it off because you're thinking he's like this hideously deformed guy under this mask. And then he takes the mask off. And it's like, wow, he looks like a normal guy.
I'm trying to think if that was Sylvester Stallone's first movie.
That one, I believe. And then he did another one about some American POWs that got captured and had to play in a soccer game against a Nazi Germany team. So,
Stallone?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
That one came out. That one had like Pele in it, the old soccer legend Pele.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of the damn movie now, to be honest. While they were playing Germany in the soccer game, as they would trade out players, they would go back to the locker room and they were digging an escape tunnel.
And then came Rocky. Yeah,
Yep. Hey, yo.
Yeah.
Adrian.
Yo, Adrian.
I did it.
Yeah. Those were good. Rocky 1 and 2 were good. After that, no.
I liked Rocky 4, especially like the James Brown "Living in America." Yeah, I can't do that again. That hurt my throat. Well, buddy, I feel like I'm about to give out.
All right, man. It's a blast being on your show, bud.
Oh, thank you, brother. Yeah, and I was going to ask you. I might do a thing where I watch an old movie from the 50s, and I'd like to have you back on, and maybe we can watch it together and talk about it.
Hey, I'm game.
All right, then I'll make it happen.
All right, sounds good, bud.
Well, guys, if you want, I'm going to put into the description of this video the link to the Indiegogo campaign for It Came From Somewhere by Steve Hermann and the crew. They have many great perks on there that you can purchase, and I think you still have a few of those producer perks floating there, but you might want to go grab them because they're kind of going quick, and it's not an unlimited thing. You don't never want too many producers on a film because it kind of looks, but yeah, so go grab you one. You going to do anything for like maybe VHS or a DVD, or is it all just going to be digital?
We're looking into a DVD Blu-ray.
Okay.
As well. We thought about VHS. I think that would be pretty cool, but I don't even know where you would go to get it done nowadays.
I'm going to hook you up with Steve Merlo, my buddy that's making the Chainsaw Massacre prequel, and he's got a VHS tape that's coming out for his film, so maybe he can hook you up with who he's using.
That would be cool.
Alrighty. Well, guys, I'm sorry if I've rambled on a lot in this episode. Like I said, it's a miracle I'm even sitting here doing it. I had a rough go health-wise this week. Blood pressure and kidney issues. I had to have kidney surgery yesterday. I had a kidney stone. Come to find out, I had a kidney stone that was about in between the size of a coffee bean and a what would be the hazelnut. There you go. Not a hazel. The smaller little. Yeah, it is a hazelnut. The smaller ones, right? Or chestnut. One of those smaller nuts that's kind of in between that and the almond. But it was pretty big sized kidney stone, and it was causing some complications. So if I've rambled on today, I do apologize. I'm on Klonopin. It is a type of painkiller, and yeah, it works good. But with that said, it was a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. I wasn't going to miss this for anything in the world, regardless of how bad I felt. I wanted to talk to you because I really believe in this project. I think it's going to be an awesome project, and I hope to see more just like this from you. And let's pick out a 1950s cheesy movie and watch together at some point and make it happen.
All right. It sounds like a plan.
All right, my friend. Well, this has been John. That fella there with that little picture right there, that's Mr. Steve Hermann. And as always, just want to say thank you guys for joining us here on the Behind the Fiends, and we'll see you again next time.